police
in the morning.
Welcome, B-movie fans, to another edition of Hypothetical Movies. I'm Corey.
And I'm Paul.
Now, everybody knows that family favorite board game where you spend 6 hours trying to buy up property and charge taxes and rent from people, Monopoly. What would happen, though, if Monopoly ceased to be a board game and started being a movie?
Or what if we went into the board game and it was actually a movie all along?
So this week we'll be discussing what would happen if there were a Monopoly, the movie.
I'm actually really surprised that there isn't a Monopoly movie at this point. I mean, they made a fucking Battleships movie, so Monopoly the movie is coming at some point, so I think we're just kind of figuring out how close our version is going to be and if our version is better than what will eventually come.
So, I mean, Monopoly revolves around you buying up properties and basically charging people too much money, more money than they can afford. So, you're being a slumlord, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty much Monopoly. That's why everybody hates Monopoly, even if they say they like it.
So, I figure that how the Monopoly movie would work is it would revolve around some antagonist, like Mr. Moneybags, or as he was originally known as Mr. Moneypenny or Pennyworth.
Pennybags, I think.
Pennybags, that was it. Mr. Pennybags, buying up all the property in town, and the last property that's available is the children's playground. Because who best to stand up to, a real estate tycoon than a bunch of children?
I was thinking a lawyer, but sure, children.
So in attempting to buy up this property, he would anger these children, and they would, then bombard his office with, like, fucking pranks. Like ordering too many pizzas, or, filling water balloons with piss and throwing them at his Scottish Terrier dog. Something to make him angry.
He's like Scrooge.
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, Scrooge McDuck or Scrooge, depending on what you want to go with. Yeah, why not?
So these children, assault his fortress of solitude up in Monopoly Towers on Park Avenue, and they have to get through some obstacles to get to him. He set up some traps in his office, kind of like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. But unlike Macaulay Culkin, his traps all have a theme. They all have to do with the original Monopoly pieces. And so all his traps have to do with something like there's a cannon or like a battleship or something to do with shoes or, an iron or a fucking top hats rain down on the kids and fall over their faces because their heads are too small to wear them.
Yeah, why not?
So you said what? You think maybe people will go into the board game?
Well,
like kind of like a Jumanji effect?
I could see that. Maybe like Monopoly just becomes the real world, but the real world is already kind of Monopoly anyway, so that doesn't really make much sense. I personally kind of like the idea of Mr. Moneybags being the hero of the story rather than the villain. Here's how I view it. So there is still an evil, rich slumlord selling things for too much and, screwing over poor people. But it's not Mr. Moneybags. It's his arch rival, the Penguin. And so the Penguin's all like, wah, 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 I'm going to fuck over the poor people. And so Mr. Moneybags is like, well, Batman's like mysteriously out of town, so this is up to me because I'm the other, millionaire in Gotham City. So he's all like, I'm going to stop him by buying up all the most valuable properties instead so that he can't. And then I'll give it to the orphans for free.
Oh no, the Penguin owns the Atlantic Railway. I owe him $400.
However, Mr. Moneybags owns Marvin Gardens, the best piece in the entire game. Even though it's not worth the most, it's always my favorite. But anyways, so they're the whole movie is just them trying to outbid each other, and like at some point they get into an actual like physical fight, and they're like going through everywhere. You've got like I said, Marvin Gardens. You've got like boulevard of the whatever the fuck and like
Park Place.
Park Place, and they're like fighting in each place, and it's just an epic battle, and then like eventually like people start like
And
throwing stuff at the penguin,
And property
like,
values go down.
exactly, and then the people get pissed, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna do some vigilante justice because once again Batman's not here, he's on vacation or something like that. Mysteriously, still like by coincidence, Bruce Wayne is also gone, but that's completely coincidental. So they're fighting and everything's getting ruined, and then the people start like throwing stuff. They're like, "No, fuck you, Penguin. We're not taking any of your shit anymore." So then somehow this ends with the Penguin on the railroad tracks, and he gets run over. Then Mr. Moneybags buys everything and helps the orphans because they're always orphans, and then everybody's happy.
Does he get sent to jail?
At some point, the Penguin sets him up for, I don't know, some kind of fraud or tax evasion, and the IRS
because the government did not collect his $200.
Exactly.
So he had to go to jail without the $200.
Exactly. You can be as dishonest as you want, but if you evade your taxes, you're going to jail. So yeah, basically, this I think this would be a good plot. I'd like to think of the Penguin being Mr. Moneybags' arch nemesis. So yeah. But when you think about Monopoly, it's depending on your point of view, I guess, Mr. Moneybags could either be the hero or the villain of it. Like, if you look at it more of from a capitalist point of view, then you've basically got the fountainhead. And if you look at it from, like, more of a socialist point of view, you get, well, every movie that has a big business owner as a villain. Because I can't think of many. I'm just going to go with Resident Evil, where the Umbrella Corporation turns everybody into zombies.
So let's think of the fucking scenario though, where people are transported into the board game of Monopoly. So you've got people that they can't move unless they roll dice. Well, that's kind of stupid. So they just keep running in circles, I guess, and they're trying to avoid the police. It's like some sort of dystopian future society.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like fucking there's cameras like floating around and shit, and they're like you must pay for being on this space. Like if you stop to rest, you have to pay. It's like fucking Speed. If you slow down, you will explode. But no, if you stop, you will pay money that you don't have. So you just gotta keep going. So it's just a race. You gotta keep going, and you gotta keep getting past go. And I mean, that's like miles. That's like a fucking marathon every time you go around the board to get just $200 measly. Heaven forbid you stop to rest on fucking Park Place. Oh, you're on Park Place. There's 2 hotels and a house. You owe $37,050. But I only have like
72 cents.
You know, and I've passed go like 12 times, man. I've run like 372 miles. Too fucking bad. Go to jail and don't collect $200 this time. Give me your 72 goddamn cents.
So it's essentially a world where you constantly owe money and you can't get ahead. This sounds so unrealistic.
But you gotta keep running, and who is in charge of it all is none other than Mr. Moneybags. Mr. Moneybags is just a front. He's not a real person.
He's just a figurehead. He's the picture on the billboard.
He's like the wizard from the Wizard of Oz.
So then, who really is the main villain?
That's the question.
The question.
So you know, after somebody uses their get out of jail free card, they're like, something's got to be done about this. So they gather a vigilante force to break into the middle of the board. Because all you ever do is go around the outside, like you're just circling the blocks. Like you don't actually go past the buildings and see what's on the inside. So they go past the inside, and it's like this lush forest, like this jungle, and they have to like fight through tigers and bears and elephants and shit. And then they get to the middle, and there's this like Japanese palace with like hot springs all around it. It's like, the fuck, man, this guy's living in luxury. We're running in circles, like we can't even stop to sleep or anything, or we get charged out the wazoo.
Can't even like walk by the train station without getting charged for it. Can't even stay at like Marvin Gardens or like whatever Park Place or anything.
So, they start, they start going through this Japanese palace, and there's nobody to be found. But I don't know.
Yeah, all I can think is the world of Monopoly has really strict loitering laws. Like, you just walk past something, it's like, it's like $200. You walk past a hotel, you owe another $500. Because fuck you, that's why. It's like, you were loitering. I was lost. I don't even know where Boulevard of whatever the fuck is. Yeah, but, alright, well, here's a question. Who would play Mr. Moneybags?
Who would play Mr. Moneybags? Ben Kingsley.
I could see that. You know who I think would play him? Donald Trump.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Wilford Brimley.
Nah, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump really is the real-life Mr. Moneybags. And depending on how you voted, he's either the hero or the villain. So it's like Monopolyception.
There's another real... Isn't there another... Oh, Vin Diesel. That's another famous bald guy.
Yeah. Wait, was he? Yeah, he was bald.
Yeah,
I got him
Moneybags is
confused with Colonel Sanders.
Although
they both have mustaches.
Although I'm sure that Jeffrey Combs could play a wonderful Mr. Moneybags, as could William Dafoe. Either of those two.
I could see William Dafoe as like the creepiest Mr. Moneybags ever.
No, that would be Christopher Walken.
Yeah, that would be now only Christopher Walken can play Mr. Moneybags, because that just wins right there.
What would happen in a creepy showdown between Christopher Walken and William Dafoe?
If William Dafoe was Mr. Moneybags and William Dafoe was the Penguin, I just want the Penguin to be the villain of this, because he seems like
Christopher Walken would have to be Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah,
because
he's Christopher Walken.
Because he's already come across the Penguin as a as a mogul of a fucking department store.
Exactly.
So it actually would make a lot of sense.
Of course. And I just want to believe that, because the Penguin looks like he's like Nego Moneybags or something like that, like Moneybags in like the evil verse or something like that. And I just like Mr. Moneybags. He looks like, a guy you can trust. He's like a weird cross between Theodore Roosevelt and, I don't know, some guy with a really round head.
So if people were sucked into the universe of Monopoly, would they then take on the form of like one of the game pieces?
Yeah, like you'd become like a dog or a thimble or a top hat.
Or a shoe.
Shoe.
Which gym Pokemon did you get? I got shoe.
I got thimble. God. Yeah, there's some... I'd want to get cannon just because I feel like that would give me a tactical advantage.
Dude, I want to be the fucking battleship at that point.
There you go.
Just launch a full-scale assault from my head.
I'll kick you really hard. No shoe.
I'm a thimble you. I'm going to give you a Peter Pan kiss.
Yeah.
Top hat. I'm going to make your head really hot. Like how do you wage a rebellion against Mr. Moneybags if you're a hat?
You could be like what's his name, Oddjob or whatever from and just like throw yourself and chop off people's heads.
Like I honestly like I can't see Mr. Moneybags as a protagonist as happy as he is all the time and is nice. He seems like someone like if there was a movie about Monopoly, he would just have to be the villain.
I don't know. He just seems like so not with it to be like, you imagine him like falling down and he's constantly like getting thrown in jail for reasons he doesn't even know. Like you look at him on the card and it's like, what did I do, guys? It's like, he's a mix. I remember he's mixed between Theodore Roosevelt and Mario. If like you put those two together, you have Mr. Moneybags. No, Mario like finds a bunch of coins, and Theodore Roosevelt was already rich, and so therefore you get.
I guess I could see him as a protagonist if Monopoly the movie was a heartwarming story about this homeless man who took a chance on something, made it rich, and then just started to turn his town around. Kind of like Hobo with a shotgun, but instead of murdering people with a shotgun, he
invested in real estate.
He invested in real estate and fixed the town up.
It's a little bit different. I could see that.
He started his own thimble business and sold enough thimbles to start manufacturing top hats and then irons and shoes, and then he got a government contract to make cannons and battleships, and he just used his money to buy up property, to make it better, to make it nice, to give the children and the townspeople somewhere safe to be and rid the town of crime.
Because, as usual, there's an unusual amount of orphans in this area.
Always.
What year did Monopoly the board game come out in?
I believe it was 1935.
Okay, so yes, this is like before World War II and all that. So basically, I'm thinking that he was, yeah, he probably was a poor guy who just during the like pre-war time, he started investing in all this stuff, became a millionaire overnight, and just like made this inspirational story and whatnot. I could see that working. And then, government's like taxing him and all that, and like that's way too much, and that's his struggle, and then he gets thrown in jail for evading taxes for not paying his $200. And then that could be like the downtime, like the bad part of the movie. But then he rises up again because he's Mr. Moneybags. He can do whatever he wants.
Monopoly was originally released February 6th of 1935.
So it does fall in kind of like that time period.
Yeah. Just coming out of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
It's fully feasible that he was a poor man that struck it big in some way, and then as it progressed, with the advent of World War II, going into a government contract, producing things like cannons and battleships and other war materials, he could become a war profiteer, but also a philanthropist at the same time.
Yeah. Or maybe he caused the Great Depression. Bum, bum, bum.
Yes, Mr. Moneybags caused the stock to crash.
Mr. Moneybags can melt steel beams. So, yeah.
So there are many, many ways that Monopoly the movie can happen. It's up to you to decide which way you think would happen, or if there's another way, let us know your idea. How would Monopoly the movie work out? You can leave it here, or on our website, or send us an email. Any comments, questions, or whatever the fuck, you just let us know. And until next time, friends, be brave, be alive, be back for more.